tuning in. This is Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Hot Toys MMS 281 of Captain America from the Avengers Age of Ultron. As you can see for the package, you got a real cool image here that's kind of like skewed. I love how it's kind of off-centered like that. That's really kind of cool and gives it a dynamic sort of look. It does have this reddish kind of package, which we did see previously with some of the other Age of Ultron figures like the War Machine and the Iron Man Mark 43. But what is different is this is just one of those kind of slip covers, much like those old original Avenger movies or movie box figures. And then on the back, you see the warnings and things of that nature. And then it just slides up just like so. And what's left on the back here is the cast and crew responsible for making the figure. And then you can see that it's now got this black background. You can see the Captain America shield there, come around here to the front. And then you have an open window package that displays the figure and all of his accessories. So again, very simple and much like those original figures from the first Avengers movie. So very simple, but still pretty cool. And then on top, obviously, you see Captain America, all that crazy stuff. But for the packaging, that is about it. So obviously, without further ado, let's get this guy out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have Captain America from the Avengers Age of Ultron open up and out of his packaging. And I seem to say this quite a bit with Hot Toys, but once again they have done an exceptional job in basically updating what a lot of people already considered almost perfect representation of Chris Evans as Steve Rogers or Captain America. This is really terrific. Now, obviously, the suit is completely different than what we saw in the first Avenger movie, any of the Captain America films, and all of it just kind of shows an evolution of the character and really does afford Hot Toys the luxury of, yes, giving us another Captain America, but really fine-tuning their craft and giving us the best representation, as well as obviously the most newest. Now, starting off first with his accessories, as you see, you really don't get a heck of a lot, but I do think that what you do get is nicely reflected in the price that you paid, but we'll touch on that here in a little bit. First up, like all Hot Toy figures, you do get a couple additional pegs. I actually really like the extra pegs, specifically with this piece, because for some reason the wrists are really tight on this, so it's nice to be able to take them and plug them into the actual hand so they're easier to swap out. So as you can see, I do have that extra wrist peg already in there, and you do get two of them, so you could do that with any of the other figures, so that is an option for you. You do see 3 additional pairs of hands. He does have a pair of closed fists currently on him, but what you have is a kind of open palmed hand here, which it's open, but it's in this kind of angular sort of pose here with his fingers, probably to help hold things like maybe hold this extra helmet or hold this shield or something of that nature. And then you do get both a right and left hand that are kind of open like this. This one is more a complete open palm that you do see sometimes Captain America kind of having an open hand to just show dynamic posing. And then this one is more designed to actually hold the shield. You can see that you can just have it like that and then put it like that, which it's a cool look, but he doesn't really hold it all that well, to be honest with you, because it's kind of open. So you're not going to get a lot of, unless you do it upside down and then you got a serving tray. But other than that, I mean, that really doesn't help all that much. Now, what's really cool is something that they updated with this, and we saw it in the film, so it was really nice to see that they actually included this as an option in the new figure, is that in the film, he actually had magnetic bits in his gloves, and you can see him right here. They activated and allowed him to magnetically attract his shield directly back to his actual hand. And what they did was they put magnets on the inside of these palms. As you can see, you don't have that little magnetic section right there, or that little extra piece. You have just a clean, flat surface right here. And then the shield is die cast, much like what we got with the Winter Soldier. Obviously, it's the more classic look with the red, silver, blue, and then the star in here. You come around here, and then you can see that it is updated with the new handle, where this has these more metallic, streamlined handles, as opposed to just the straps that we got previously. But there's actually magnets that are inside this as well. So you have these that have magnets and these that have magnets. And what's that going to do? allow you to do that, which is absolutely terrific. So you can magnetically have Captain America hold his shield without kind of slipping it through those straps and being a little bit complicated, honestly. I mean, it was a pain in the butt. And then he also does have extra magnets on the upper part of his arms, which will attach to this magnet. But I'll show that off here in a little bit. But I absolutely love it. I think that's one of the best features on here and really makes this almost well worth just the price of admission by itself. But for the shield, really very nice. I love the classic look on it. Honestly, I did like the shield that he used in the Winter Soldier. In the 2-pack, you got this kind of stealth looking shield, and then you got this one, which is a little bit more similar to what we have, but a lot more beat up. You can see a lot of the paint has been worn off. I actually really like this one, but you can see that he's got the old school straps on here. Now, if you do want to use the Age of Ultron version of Captain America, you still can. Like I said, you don't necessarily have to use these hands, although, well, even the magnet doesn't really grasp on that, so I'm not exactly sure what kind of metal that they're using here, but you do still have these open hands, or you have, I mean, you can still use these ones if you want to. You just have to fit it through and then do it the old school way. Well, actually, you would do it kind of this way, where the arm would go through here, and then you would have him hold that strap right there, and then, like I said, you'd have the arm going through there. So you could still do it. You would just have to actually utilize the straps. So if you did want to use these, you very easily could. You just have to do it the old school way. And then for another comparison in terms of shields, this is the one that came with actually the first Avenger movie one, and this is the damaged one. Unfortunately, because this is plastic, the way that they did the clean one, mine as well as a lot of people's really started to flake. The battle damage one here doesn't seem to do it for some reason. They probably used a little different of a paint application, but the clean one, much like that, had a very metallic, almost chrome kind of paint on there that, unfortunately, like I said, a lot of people started flaking off. Mine did as well, but I actually don't mind using the battle damage one just because I think there's a little bit more personality in the damage look. But again, if this is a shield that you like, you can still use it. It just has to be attached the old school way. But again, this is plastic, whereas that one is metal. And then for the other accessories that he does come with an alternate head sculpt. It is the same one that we got with the Winter Soldier figure. Now, bringing him in, you can see the only real difference is basically here in the paint. You got this little silver bit that's put here for his ears. The Winter Soldier version does not have that. Everything else is exactly the same. The eyes are positioned the same. Nothing really changes. I'm just kind of looking on here. Everything looks exactly the same, basically. No. Yeah, that's the same too. I was going to say that there's a little bit more texturing here on the eye, but this actually has it as well. So the helmeted version is the same. The sculpt is identical. I can't see any changes. The only thing, like I said, that changes is that extra bit of paint. So you do get, obviously, a helmeted version of Captain America, which looks great, especially if you're going to pose him in some kind of a battle or something like that. But if you do want to take it off, he does come with an unhelmeted one, which we'll look at. And if you do choose to display him with that, you get an empty mask that is identical to what this has. It's just empty, so you can display Steve Rogers kind of holding his own helmet if you wanted to. That's definitely a cool option. So getting these all out to the side. And then obviously, in addition to all that, you do get the new Avengers Age of Ultron stand. It's very cool looking. It does take up a little bit more space than kind of the classic oval one, but I do like it. I think it's a nice look. You got the Avengers Age of Ultron logo with Captain America, and then you got the Avengers logo right there with Steve Shields in the background. Then you got a little bit of gloss kind of molded in there, giving it a real cool texture. And then you can see that you got the stand with obviously the adjustable cradle. And coming to the figure himself, once again, yes, it is another Captain America, but much like they've done with Tony Stark, with all the various iterations that have come out, they've really been able to take and perfect the actual likeness. Now, obviously, the suit is pretty simple to recreate, and as you can see, it is accurate to how it looked in the Age of Ultron film. But what they're able to do is take the sculpt and just continuously kind of tweak it to make it just a little bit more perfect. Now, the original sculpt that we got with the Winter Soldier is arguably one of the very best. I mean, that really does look like Chris Evans, if you ask me. And the head sculpt on the new Avengers Age of Ultron version is exactly the same in terms of the molding. All they did was add a little bit more blonde into his hair. That just further brought the likeness to a little bit more of an accurate representation of actually Chris Evans. So zooming in to take a look, I mean, as you can see, the sculpt is exactly the same. You're just seeing a little bit more of a blonde hair on the new one as opposed to the other. Now, in better detail, his actual look. I mean, that's really simple, but really very cool. So much like the head sculpt that we got with this helmet on is basically the same with just a minor paint tweak, so too is the new just Steve Rogers sculpt. So you do get the same head sculpt, it just has a much better actual likeness to how Chris Evans looks. Now, for a comparison, here's the most recent figure, and here's the Winter Soldier version with his stealth suit. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of similarities, a lot of different cues that are in this suit are carried over here in the new Age of Ultron versions. It makes sense that there's a natural progression. As you can see, you got some armor here in the abdominal section. You got some, what looks to be armor down here. You got some knee pads, things like that. So it's like all of the functionality that this original suit had kind of carried over to this in a more classic Captain look. Now, one thing that you are seeing that's different is that here on the side, instead of the shield logo that he had, he does now have an actual Avengers logo, which is really cool. Now, the other thing that I want to show here is that if you remember, he had to have this little clip here to kind of holster his actual shield. You would take it and then you would just kind of slide it over that clip. Well, with them including magnets now, you guessed it, you don't need to have that clip anymore. You got magnets up inside his back section, so you can take this, and I love it. Boom. That's it. That's all you do. You just throw it at it, and well, you put it on there. But that is awesome. I mean, it's really cool. You could probably put it that way just so that the actual star is right side up. But that is cool. I absolutely dig that. That is such a neat touch. And it's so smart. It's just a logical kind of progression for what they were doing with some of the actual functionality of things. Like I said, you had the hook before, and it was just a natural progression to put a metal shield with magnets and then stick some magnets here in the back that you can just attach that. I think that's just absolutely brilliant. Now, like I said, with the arms, these ones are just the regular fist. So taking this, we're just going to slide, and of course, this whole thing decided to stay in there. So it's going to make it a little bit of a pain in the butt for me to get that out. So there we go. I'm just going to pull it out like so. But having the extra wrist peg in there does come in handy. You just take this, kind of put it in there, kind of wedge the suit underneath the gloves, push it in there, and like I said, this is the magnet section, so you do have a little bit of a different look. You don't have this little piece right here, you just have this smooth surface. So all you do, again, really cool. You got magnets in here and also in here, so you could do it on both sides. If you wanted to put the shield in this arm, you could do it as well. So both magnets, or both sides of his arms, have the magnets, and then all you do is you take this and that's it. You just stick it on there. It's awesome. You got a magnet that attaches here, and then it comes up there, and it locks on there as well. So really very cool. You don't even have to actually get them to hold the handles. It's actually hard to kind of do. And if you put it in there, you can lift this up, and then you can put the hand in there. And actually, if you do it that way, it makes it a little bit more difficult to line up the magnets. So just leaving it down there, putting it in there, that is your Captain America from the Avengers Age of Ultron. Absolutely amazing looking piece. I love the addition of the magnets. It makes it so fun, just so simple to do. And then, like I said, if you wanted to, you could have just an extra hand here. You can have him holding, well, not like that. Now maybe I'll use this one or something. You can just have him holding his helmet kind of in this hand if you wanted to do something like that. Or to swap out the heads, really very simple. You just take this, it pops off very easily. The instructions do tell you to, when you do it, put it in on an angle. So get that in there, push that in, kind of on an angle. You want to bend it and then kind of pull it away. That's basically how you do it. And then, like I said, again, Captain America, boom, there he is, protecting America. Just absolutely incredible, wonderful, wonderful piece. Now, for his articulation, one of the biggest complaints about the Winter Soldier suit was it was very restrictive. You could not get a lot of articulation with the guy. There was a fat suit, is what most people call it, was underneath there. It unnecessarily bulked him up. I mean, you can see, bringing him back in, it doesn't look as, well, kind of buff, honestly. I mean, you got the more tapered V shape right here, whereas this is very bulky looking, especially here in the shoulder area. As you And see, though, I did take the little fat suit out of this to make it look a little bit better. But the suit for this one is a lot more flexible and posable, because it's definitely not feeling like there's a fat suit, or they redid it or something like that. But for the articulation, the head is on a ball joint, so you get a nice range of motion there. It kind of bends down here, or that's where the actual ball joint is, so you get that moving all the way around. You can move it up and down, things like that. The arms move out like so. They can't move forward, they can move back. You do have to be careful. As you can see, this section here, it just snaps on there, so you do have to, if it does pop off, you just bring it back in there and then just button it back up. So that does rotate. You can see you get a nice range of motion with it. You do have to kind of move the suit as you flex the arm up, so you do have that. Rotates at the upper part of the bicep. You can see a little bit restrictive. It's not terrible, but it's something that we have come to kind of expect in these fully clothed figures. It does kind of limit things. It does feel like he's got two joints here at the elbow, but you can see nice range of motion there, so you can get a full flex going with him. The wrists move forward and back. They rotate in and out. It does feel like he's got an ab crunch. Again, it is a little bit more restrictive here in the waist area. He can rotate a little bit. You're not going to get a heck of a lot of range of motion, but you can see that it does twist just a little bit there. Moves forward and back here about that far at the hip. It moves in and out, does rotate at the upper part of the thigh. He does have two joints here at the knee. And then you come down here to the boot, and I actually really like this. This is something they have started doing with some figures, where they made the boot section here kind of separate, and then as you can see, it straps underneath there, so it's not actually a part of the actual foot, so it doesn't restrict the motion. So as you can see, it moves forward and back, tilts side to side. It can rotate, obviously, but this section right here stays connected to kind of give the illusion of a full boot, but you also get all the same articulation with the figure. So really very cool. I do dig it. It's really a very impressive figure. Like I said, minor changes to him in terms of the sculpt and the paint and everything, but the suit and the way that he's articulated is a vast improvement over what we got with the Winter Soldier. All in all, though, I really do like this guy. The changes, for the most part, are pretty minimal. Obviously, the suit's going to be the most dramatically different aspect of the figure, but it really does come across very nicely. Now, as I said, the price, I think, nicely reflects what you have. That being $225 through Sideshow Collectibles. It's a pretty good price for what you have here. I mean, you don't get a huge amount of accessories, but what you do get is an absolutely solid figure with a lot of really good improvements that really does make this the best Captain America figure that we have to date. I mean, just look at this guy. This looks silly now by comparison to this. This dude looks so much tougher and really a heck of a lot cooler. So this is a figure that you want to add to your collection. He is available right now at Sideshow Collectibles. So all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to Sideshow where you can pick this guy up and you can add him to your collection today. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus, and until next time, I'll talk to you later.